Cade Cunningham drops 36, goes head-to-head against Jaren Jackson Jr. of the Memphis Grizzlies, but it is not enough as the Pistons fall 110-108, losing what was one of their last winnable games of the season. We'll break down this game and what happened in today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Kuka Hill. You can find me over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Later on, we'll talk about the plays at the end of the game really being the story of the Pistons season. If there are some back-to-back plays that could just summarize the Pistons season, I think these plays would tell it. Jalen Duren also got injured. We'll talk about that a little later. But Cade Cunningham, another fantastic game from him. 13 of 22 from the field, 3 of 4 from deep, 7 and 8 from the free throw line, 36 points, 8 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 steals, and a block. He was a +6 in this game in a 2-point loss. Played 34 minutes. Him and Jaren Jackson Jr. Were going right back at each other over and over and over and over again. Like Jaren Jackson Jr., he ended up with 40 points in this game. He took 14 free throws. Once the Pistons lost Jalen Duren early in this game, they didn't have anyone else that could guard Jaren Jackson Jr. Jaren Jackson Jr. was destroying James Wiseman, and then the Pistons' next best option was Chimezie Metu. And he was given as much effort as he possibly could, but that's just obviously a mismatch for the Memphis Grizzlies, and Jaren Jackson Jr. took it to him. And I think was easily by far the reason why the Memphis Grizzlies won this game. He completely dominated the Pistons in this game. Even like just look at his stat line: 40 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks. Like he just stuffed the stat sheet, and he was a -13 in this game, but I don't know how, because he was killing the Pistons. But Cade played exceptional in this game. He routinely, I thought, was making the right plays over and over. In the first half, he took 10 shots, made 9 of them. Memphis Grizzlies were more than comfortable with, for some reason, letting him get to his spots and letting him try to beat them, and he was. Then in the second half, they switched up their coverage. They were playing really hard help at the nail, especially off whoever is at the opposite wing. Most times it was Jaden Ivey, but later in the fourth quarter, I know Evan Fournier was the guy a few times. But they were helping really hard at the nail on Cade in the second half. They started to trap him a lot more in the second half. They started having Jaren Jackson Jr. blitz him in the second half. So they tried to get the ball out of Cade's hands. And if you watched the game, you saw Cade make the right read, find open guys over and over. I mean, if he had some better teammates, the Pistons win this game, especially at the end of this game when we talk about it later. But this is just, I thought this was a really good performance from Cade. His third straight 30-point performance for the Detroit Pistons. He did everything he absolutely could. He did everything he could. Do want to point out that I've mentioned that a goal is to see him get to 65 games played. He was questionable heading into tonight's game. Ended up playing. That's 62 games now. So he's 3 games away with 7 games remaining to hit that 65-game mark. I think he's going to do that. Others in this game that played a good game, I thought Chimezie Metu, even though we'll talk about him a little later, on a negative note, sadly, I thought he actually gave as much as he possibly could. He had 17 points, season high for the Pistons, 8 rebounds, 6 of 10 shooting. I thought he was aggressive. Again, he had a tough mismatch with guarding Jaren Jackson Jr. It just was not a fair mismatch for him. I feel bad for him. It kind of like how I felt watching Caitlin Clark destroy Haley Van Lith like all night. Like that it was the same level of mismatch going on here with Chimezie Metu versus Jaren Jackson Jr. But outside of that, played hard. I thought offensively actually played a fine game. And then James Wiseman again, I thought he, just another mismatch, but he gave it everything he could. Tosan continues to impress me. 10 points in this game, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and a block, 4 or 5 shooting. I don't know if he's an NBA player, but I think out of all the players that we've been watching for the Pistons, like these two-way guys, I think he has the best chance at being one. He plays smart basketball. He plays hard defensively. I like some of the things he does. So yeah, I'm impressed with Tosan. And then Jaden Ivey had an up and down night. He was 7 of 17 from the floor, 2 of 8 from deep, 25% from deep, 41% from the field. Continues not to shoot the ball very well, but he did have a few highlight plays in this game. He had a really good cut on a Cade Cunningham drive that really resembled what I think most fans or a lot of fans thought they'd see out of the Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey duo. A lot of cuts to the rim, a lot of Cade finding Ivey on cuts to the rim. Early in that first half, it was a really nice play and one for Jaden Ivey. But again, just an up and down game from him and just continues to struggle shooting the basketball. It's just the story of the season for the Detroit Pistons. Cade did everything he could. They still lose anyways. Another game where the Pistons had control in the first half, come out in the third quarter flat. Cade comes out the game in the third quarter, and then the bench goes on to get destroyed. For some reason, Jared Rhoden thought it was a smart idea to talk trash to Luke Kennard. And any long-term Pistons fan knows that talking trash to Luke Kennard usually gets him riled up and gets him into the game. And he talked trash to Luke Kennard after blocking one of his shots, and Luke Kennard went on to destroy them for like the next 4 or 5 possessions. Like I think he hit like back-to-back threes. Like or he hit back-to-back threes, then hit a step back, yank back on Cade along the right or left baseline. I don't know why. I don't know why your two-way players talking trash to a legit NBA player, but is what it is. Brandon Clark also really killed the Pistons in the minutes without Cade on the floor. 15 points, 7 rebounds for him. They just destroyed the Pistons really on the glass. Again, once Jalen Duren left the game, they didn't really have a chance on the glass. It just wasn't going to happen. The Grizzlies just were more physical than them on the glass, and that I think was the story of the game. Their length, their size over the Detroit Pistons when Duren went out the game. But yeah, I mean, we'll wrap it up there. I think Cade showed at every level of the floor he was exceptional tonight. He drew a lot of free throws. He drew 8 free throws, which is big time. Shot really well from beyond arc. Shot really well from mid-range. Got to the rim. I thought this was one of Cade's better games over the last few weeks, and this is the same dude who scored 3 straight 30-point games. So did everything he could. Lost the game still, though. But to end of the season, again, if there's one positive you're pulling out of this Pistons season, is Cade's proving that he's taking that step and that he's that dude for the Pistons. Everything else is what it is, but Cade is taking that step. Cade has improved massively this year from his rookie season, which is really his last season since he only got to play 10, 11 games last year. He's taken a big step forward. The shot looks a lot better, a lot more decisive, a better scorer. He's been the positive this year. He's proven that he's him. So we'll see what happens in the offseason, but tough loss to the Memphis Grizzlies, especially, this is a team the Detroit Pistons probably wish they could beat. Like, this is another very bad team dealing with a ton of injuries. And we've talked about it a few times. This was the Pistons' chance to go on a winning streak of some sort. They beat the Wizards. If they couldn't beat the Grizzlies this game, then they have the Hawks, the Grizzlies again, then the Nets. So I guess the Pistons have one chance left to get on a 3-game win streak. If they can beat the Hawks, Grizzlies, and Nets, it'll be their first 3-game winning streak of the season. But not being able to beat the Grizzlies with their injuries at home, with Cade playing like that, makes me believe it's not going to happen. And it is what it is. The Pistons are probably going to end this season without having a 3-game winning streak at any point in the year. And that's pretty embarrassing. But that's the type of season it's been. What do you guys think about tonight's game? What do you think about how Cade played in this game? Do you think he did enough? What do you think about how everyone else played out there? Let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. When we come back, there are some plays at the end of this game that I thought was just, if you want to take 2 or 3 plays to tell the story of the Pistons season, this was it right here. We'll break down those plays when we come back. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA and get on your way to being your best self. Sometimes we all need the opportunity to get something off of our chest. Big or small, certain things can really start to get to you. And it's important to let that out, especially to someone who's unbiased in your life. So today I want to say how I really feel about something. You might even be thinking about the same thing this week. And what I'm thinking about is how I use this podcast every week, every day to come on here and rant about the Detroit Pistons. But not everybody is dealing with something as small as your favorite sports team not performing well. And it's important to get those type of things off your chest every once in a while instead of keeping it inside. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. Also, if you get on there, you're not vibing with the therapist, the online therapist, you can switch just like that, as quick as a snap of a finger. Again, extremely flexible and suited to you online, entirely online at BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA for 10% off your first month with BetterHelp. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. So the Pistons, like I said, they had a control of this game in the first half, and they let it go in the third quarter. And then the Grizzlies tried to really pull away in the fourth quarter after they got the momentum on their side. At one point in the fourth quarter, they were up 101-94. At another point, they were up 104-96. Then Jaden Ivey hit a driving layup. Cade found Evan Fournier for an open three, cut the lead to 3. Then Cade hit a step back 3 to tie the game up. Jaren Jackson then comes down, driving layup. Cade then comes down, draws a foul, hits 2 free throws, ties the game back up again. Jaren Jackson then comes down, gets 2 free throws. James Wiseman gets a dunk. The Pistons and Grizzlies were going back, forth. And then in the final 2 minutes of this game, about like a minute 50, the Pistons had 2 back-to-back plays, and really we'll include the final play as a story of the season as well, where it was just such typical 2023-2024 Detroit Pistons basketball. Jaren Jackson Jr. up 2 points with a minute and 50 left, goes to the rim, tries to finish around the rim, misses, gets offensive rebound back, misses again. Cade Cunningham gets the rebound. He pushes it up the floor, collapses the defense, and gets Jaden Ivey a wide open left corner 3 to take the lead. Jaden Ivey misses it. 2 of 8 from 3 on the night. Jaden Ivey misses a chance. Cade creates an opportunity for him, creates an open shot. Jaden Ivey can't hit it. So then the Grizzlies come back down. They get really like 4 possessions on this. The Pistons couldn't get an offensive rebound. But still, they were not able, the Grizzlies, that is, to score and take advantage of it. Metu gets the rebound. Cade gets it down the floor. Again, beats his guy off the dribble, collapses the defense. The entire team closes down on Cade. Cade maybe could have tried to force it over like 3 people at the rim. I know there's some people maybe that feel like he should have just forced it and, died with his own shot. Either, live with your shot or die with your own shot at that point. But he collapsed the whole defense with 34 seconds left. Finds Metu wide open in the left corner. I mean, people aren't even within like 15 feet of him. Everyone's completely collapsed on Cade at the rim. He kicks it out to Metu from the exact same spot Ivy had just missed from the possession before. And then Metu also misses. 1 of 3 on the night from beyond the arc. And then to end off the game, Cade Cunningham, they get a stop with 11 seconds left. Wiseman gets the rebound, pushes it to Cade. Cade gets the ball, tries to rush the floor up. You can see him look up at the clock so he doesn't make the same mistake that he made a few games ago. I forget what game exactly it was where he shot too early. I'm forgetting what team it was he did that against. But, oh my God, how am I forgetting that? Who was it? Was it the Heat? I think it was the Heat. I think it was on Jaime Jaquez that he did it on. But either way, he looks up at the clock, trying to, make sure they get the last shot. But at that point, the Pistons got the ball at 10 seconds left. Cade pushed it up. Guys doubled him. He had to dribble out of it, almost lost the ball. Then had to regroup, get it back again, look up at the clock again. Like, the possession was all kinds of out of whack. The possession was lost. I agreed with the initial decision to push in transition and try to score before the defense got set. But at like the 5 or 6 second mark, when the possession was clearly just done for, it was all out of sorts. People were all over the place. It was It was not looking good for the Pistons. Cade looks up at the clock, has to drive to the rim. Kind of got away with a little bit of a push off just to create room to get a shot off. And it literally reminded me of that Kobe Bryant picture where he's shooting like over 4 people at the end of the game to try to score instead of passing it to an open player. Like, that's basically the shot that Cade had to come up with. Honestly, he maybe could have. I think Cade probably thinks he could have made that shot. He missed it off the glass. He did get a cleanish look. I don't know how he got the shot off. I thought he definitely was going to get blocked from the side or from behind. He had 2 guys jumping at him. Don't know how he got the shot off. But he missed it, and then the Pistons lose. Those 3 plays is the story of the Detroit Pistons season. Cade finds an open look for somebody. They can't hit the shot. Comes down. All the defense, just his attention is on Cade Cunningham. Just stop Cade. Make someone else beat you. He does it again. Trusts his teammate. Makes the right play. Misses again. Pistons lose. Comes back down the floor. Gets another chance at it. And instead of his head coach realizing the possession is dead and that it's out of whack, doesn't call timeout. This is something that we've seen Monty Williams do on at least 5 to 6 occasions at the end of games this year, where he leaves the game with a timeout. And it hasn't worked one time for the Pistons yet. Like, everyone keeps saying, well, I agree with the decision to go, against a scrambling defense. It's the right move to make. Well, it's happened like 6 times so far this year. It hasn't worked not one time. So when is it going to be a bad decision? Like, I understand circumstances, context matters. If you watch this final possession from the Detroit Pistons, that possession was very clearly out of whack and dead at like the 5-second mark. At like the 4-second mark, Cade almost lost the ball trying to dribble through 2 people. He had to look back up at the clock again, force it into 4 people. Like, it was dead. Timeout should have been called and try to draw up a clean look. But that doesn't happen. Cade has to try to force up a fadeaway off bank shot, isn't able to hit it. Those 3 plays encapsulate the Pistons season. Teammates not being good enough, not having enough quality NBA players in your team, and just over and over and over and over, questionable coaching decisions, whether it's at the beginning, before the game, after the game, during the game, at the end of the game. Just, I think those, if someone came up to you and said, hey, you've watched the Pistons every game this year. What are the 2 main things that went wrong with the Detroit Pistons this year? I think the 2 main things people would say is not enough quality players around Cade and the head coaching. Like, I think front office would be wrapped up in that first answer, but not enough quality players and questionable head coaching. That's what happened in the final 3 plays of this game against the Detroit Pistons. Jaden Ivey had a wide open left corner 3, missed it. Chimezie Metu had a wide open corner 3. Both of these looks created by Cade, both missed them with a chance to win the game. At the end of the game, Monty again leaves the game with a timeout. I can't count on how many times Monty has left the game with either a timeout or without ever using his challenge. Like, I think he might have left 20 plus games this year. Heck, I honestly, I'm doing this off the head, so I may be way off, but I seriously feel like, just talking about right now, it might be 30 plus. Like, it might be even more than that he's left the game without even utilizing his challenge and also leaving the game with a timeout. Like, it doesn't make sense. I don't understand why. What are you doing taking them home? What are they going to do for you? You can't do nothing with them at home. There was a play at the end of the game with about 40 seconds left. Cade shot, I believe it was off. No, it was off Chimezie Metu's missed 3. Jaden Ivey crashed the board, knocked the ball out of bounds. At any other point in the game, obvious out of bounds to Jaden Ivey. They're not going to go review that. It is what it is. But at the end of the game, I think everyone knows what kind of play I'm talking about. Where, like, in pickup, you're obviously saying it's off that guy, and it's no arguing about it. We're not doing the technical, you knocked it, and it happened to graze the fingertip and went on that guy. Like, it never would be called that. But at the end of the game, those ones are always reviewed. Those ones are always challenged. Because even if that guy clearly knocked it out, if he knocked it out and then the ball, as he did it, just scraped the dude's fingers, that it is what it is. Some people don't like it, but with instant replay, with challenges, that's what it's there for. And it was clearly off the Grizzlies on that play. With 36 seconds left, and the Pistons held their challenge. Went home with the challenge. For what? Why? Why are you going home with the challenge? Why are you going home with the timeout in your back pocket? It happens nonstop. I don't get it. And it's the reason why the Pistons lost, because they didn't use a challenge. I'm not saying that. That's not why they lost. But it's just another one of those things that they like. It's not the reason why they lost, but it certainly didn't help them. It's not helping them every game, that the fact that they don't use their challenges, that they don't use all their timeouts. Like, that doesn't help. But yeah, I mean, it's just the story of the season. Not good enough players, not good enough shooters around Cade, and then questionable coaching decisions. It is what it is. I think those 3 plays back to back to back were clear evidence of, again, if someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, how was the Detroit Pistons season?" Just play those 50 seconds for them, and then say that was the Pistons season this year. That's easily the best way. What was that? Going a little too fast here, but yeah, easiest way to describe the Pistons season. It was just tough end of the game, but it is what it is at the end of the day. Pistons, I think they're going to probably end with the worst record in franchise history. I think the second worst was 17 last year. Yeah, I don't think they're getting to 17. This is going to be the worst season in franchise history. It already was, by the way, but according to win-loss, it definitely is. It's truly remarkable. It's truly just insane to think about that the Pistons we're witnessing the Pistons' worst season in franchise history. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Let me know what you guys thought about the end of the game, the 3 back-to-back plays I'm talking about. What do you guys think about it? Was it the right decision not to call a timeout? Should you use the challenge? Should Cade have tried to force some shots at the rim instead of kicking out? What are your guys' thoughts? Comment section down below or over on Twitter at @KukuHill. When we come back, Jalen Duren was injured. Should we expect to see him play again at some point this season? We'll talk about that when we come back. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices viewed from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. You might be asking me, well, okay, what exactly is Game Time? Well, if you're looking to get tickets to an MLB game, to an NBA game, when the NFL season's around, to an NFL game, to a concert, to anything like that, Game Time is the place to go. If you're a procrastinator like me, you always like to wait till the very last second, that could screw you over as a player. If you end up with bad seats, you end up paying more than you should on some tickets. But with Game Time, you have last-minute ticket deals all the way up until the very last second, and sometimes really even after the tip-off happens. Lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. You also get to see what your seats look like right there on the app. You don't get to be surprised once you get there. Game Time, if you're looking to get tickets to anything, it's the best place to go. Download the Game Time app today. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed with Game Time. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review or whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Before we get into Jalen Duren losing a tooth, yeah, he lost a tooth. If you didn't watch this game, you literally saw his tooth go flying across the court. Before we get into that, just want to let you guys know what I think I'm going to be doing with the fan episodes when we record with fans, and I interview 3 fans per episode. I think I'm going to record, as of right now, we might up it up to 2 times a week, but as of right now, I'm going to be recording those every Thursday night with random selected Pistons fans, and I'll be reaching out to them Wednesday night to confirm if they're available on Thursday night. So if you're one of the Pistons fans that want to be on the podcast, get your chance to talk about whatever you want to talk about, you got to have a camera, you got to have a mic, you got to be available one of these Thursday nights. So if I reach out to you and you have all those things, you'll be on the podcast. So best way to do that, comment down below the YouTube channel, DM me over on Twitter at KukuHill, or you can leave a review, a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on, and say you want to be on the podcast, and I'll try to reach out. And, we're doing it randomly. It's not, I'm not picking, my favorite people or people I've known or anything. Like, I'm doing it random to get everybody the best chance possible to get their chance to talk about whatever they want with the Pistons and get everything off their chest. So just had to get that out the way for you guys. I know a lot of you guys were interested. I think I got over 200 DMs over the last week. It's crazy. You guys are really interested in that. So just wanted to give you guys that update. I think that's the best way to do it, like with organization, like not just being all over the place, and make it easier on me to figure out how to go about it. But anyways, yeah, Jalen Duren played 5 minutes in this game, and him and Jaren Jackson Jr. went to do like a rip through Euro step and ran straight into Jalen Duren's face. When at first glance, it was like, oh, they must have just bumped heads. But then the camera caught Jalen Duren just running straight to the locker room and dipping out. And I was like, oh, God, is he like gushing blood or something? I thought maybe he broke his nose or like it was just like gushing. And I was like, what happened? Then they showed the replay. And I swear to God, if you have not seen it yet, you probably don't want to look at it. It's honestly disgusting, to be honest. But if you're interested in that kind of thing, you watch it. You literally see Duren's tooth fly out of his mouth, hit the court, and literally like you're playing like what's the game people played as kids when you take the rock and you throw it across the water and it skips? That literally is what happened with his tooth. His tooth hit the ground and just like skipped all the way across the court to the Pistons bench. And it was very clear, too. Very clear. Imagine losing on April Fool's Day, too. Like on April Fool's Day, at the end of this type of season, a meaningless game on April Fool's Day, you go out there and play instead of resting the rest of the year, like, that conversation we had in the last podcast. You play, finish the season out, and you lose a tooth. Imagine that happening. Now, I know I've had a lot of people reach out to me like, Kubi's rich, he can get a tooth immediate, like a new tooth, he's going to be all right. But man, come on. None of us want to, like, at the end of this season, like, if it's for something, fair enough. Like, I feel bad for Jalen Duren, obviously, because he lost his tooth. But, like, at the end of the season in this meaningless type of game against the Memphis Grizzlies, you lose a tooth, like, 5 minutes into the game. Like, damn, I would have just sat out if I knew that was going to happen. I would have just sat out the rest of the year. But all jokes aside, whatever. Do I expect to see Jalen Duren on the floor the rest of the year? I don't think he's going to be held out unless, like, actually, there was that one year that, didn't Andre 1 year with the Pistons, like in 2017, missed like 2 weeks due to like a dental procedure, I think. I think Andre did miss like a few weeks with like a dental procedure. So maybe he does miss games because of that. But my initial thought process was I don't think that, missing a tooth is going to keep him out of games. But I think because that happened 5 minutes in, I could see the Pistons as being like, okay, shut him down. We don't want nothing else possibly happening to him. Is what it is. So if I had to bet money, I could see the Pistons just holding him out and, not playing the rest of the year with 7 games left. Who cares? It is what it is. What do you guys think, though? You guys think Jalen Duren will play again the rest of this year? Do you guys think the tooth could hold him out? Did you guys see the play? Like, God, that looked like it hurt. You know how hard you had to hit someone's tooth for it not only to fall off, but to fall out with such force that it started skipping on the floor? Like, that was, oh, my God. Feel bad for him. But that's all I've got for you guys today, man. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Stay safe out there. And until next time, peace out.